So good morning and good afternoon, and once again, for those of you in this very room, as well as for those of you joining us on the internet and joining us later after our 10 o'clock service this morning, we welcome you, and I'm so glad you're with us this morning or today. My topic for today is there's no place like home. Home. It's that it's that place. It's that place where the dog or cat or goldfish or bird might be. It's the place where our stuff is. Ideally, it's the place where we can go and just be. I'm not picking up that coffee cup. I'll take care of it when I get home. And that's okay. I'm not picking up those dirty socks. I'll get them later. And that's okay. I'm going to take a nap on the couch rather than going up to the bed. And that's okay. So, home being the place where we're comfortable and where we're secure. It's not that I don't handle it, I don't think. It's that I don't welcome change in my life. So when my parents first got together, my father was working in underground construction and was out of town. And so they would work out of town a lot and then go a little further because the one job ended and he took the next job and so on. And so they agreed that they would have a home base, and that's where we would live, and he'd go and do what he needed to do and at least come home on weekends. And so I was born in San Diego. We moved to Escondido, and they lived in that house they built they were married about 65 years and lived in that house I grew up in for 61 years. That was home. Always knew it was there, always knew where everything was. And I was talking with a friend not long ago, and her father was in the military. And so, how many times have you moved in your life? Well, at that point, had been 3 probably in total. And she's like, well, 27. Oh my God. And for those of you that come from a military background, or parents were, or a parent was, you know you don't collect too much stuff, because at some point you're going to box it up and move on and go to the next experience of home. We moved from San Diego to Boston in 1994 for a job transfer, and left the apartment here, of course, and hadn't found one yet in Boston. And so and we drove across the country, which was an awesome experience. But there was about 3 weeks where I don't have house keys. I don't have an address. It was very strange, very strange. But we also know that home is much more than where we get our mail. Home is that experience of, I can exhale, I can be comfortable, I can just be. Ideally, there is unconditional love and there is acceptance in this experience called home. The book that I'm using this morning is, amazingly enough, Finding Your Way Home by Melody Beattie. Absolutely wonderful book. And I have a few quotes that I'd like to share with you. And she talks about this experience of being home in our day-to-day lives and our relationship with our soul and our relationship with one another, and what we do and what we choose to do coming from that place of wisdom and of, homeness is not a word, but I just use it so it is now. But whatever home feels like for you, that experience. And so in the book she writes, one thing, so home can look, as if you've done any traveling or watched television or read books, you know that home in San Diego or home in La Mesa can look very different than it does in Knoxville, Tennessee. than it does in the Antarctic, than it does on a Native American reservation, just a variety of places. So my house doesn't necessarily look like your house, but it's home to you or home to them. So in the book she writes, we want to go home. We want to find our purpose, our right place, the right people to live and work with, the right work to do. We want to do more than discover why we're here. We want to be doing and living what we came here to do with the people we came here to do it with. We want to come into alignment with our highest good and destiny. We want to discover and live our soul's purpose. We want to bring out and use all the parts of us we've kept denied and tucked away. We don't want to hear any more about what we can't do. We want to know what we can do, and then we want to do it well. We want to be who we are, be all that our souls came here to be. We want to go home. So even though I'm at work, I'm at home in that work. This morning, not only am I at home, but I'm also at home in doing what I came here to this life experience at this point to do. And so for all of us, this experience of home is the wholeheartedness and the joy, no matter what we're doing, knowing that this feeds our soul, this wags our tail, this is what we came here to do. And so that's what we're seeking sometimes, is finding our way back to that place that we call home. I have an English cream golden retriever named Maggie. So she's a white or a very light colored golden retriever. And Maggie is about 3.5 years old, and she is absolutely wonderful. And we did training a couple of years ago, and I found that she is very smart and a little stubborn. And so she'll do what I want her to do as long as she wants to do it. But if it isn't something she wants to do, then I get the sideways glance. This dog has attitude. It's just so funny. But we did, as you did, Halloween Monday night. Yes, yeah, it was a busy week. So Monday night, and I don't know about you, but I just had 2 groups of kids, so very small number of little monsters. But Maggie had to go out the door to greet everybody, and so I'm a little concerned because she wants to go see whoever it is, but I said, and so she was out with this one group, and I said, Maggie, go home, and she did. I was so impressed. I didn't know she knew how to do that or would do that, but yeah, she came right back in the house. So there's a life lesson there. You might have heard the expression, all roads lead home, but not necessarily. Sometimes the road that we get on does not lead us back to that place or to that place of joy and of satisfaction and of wonder. It leads us down the road of anger and grief and lack and struggle. And so the opportunity is to get, as we go down the road, and to me, that's one of the benefits of our teaching is as we go down the road, earlier and earlier, we think, I made a wrong turn here. This is not bringing me peace. I'm going to make a U-turn and come back so that we can get to that point of peace and of joy and of home. Melanie goes on to write, all the forces of the universe are now urging, conspiring, twisting, turning, pulling, and pushing to get us home. Whether that desire manifests externally as the longing to live and work in the right place, or internally as a resurgence of interest in the soul, it's time to go home. It's time to remember who we are and what we came here to do. It's time to stop living from our heads, functioning on automatic pilot, and acting out of our fear. It's time to remember and activate our soul's purpose for being here. That's what finding our way home means, getting to the heart of who we are and what we came here to do. There's a blueprint for your life in the DNA of your soul. Opening your heart activates that plan. So again, keeping in mind that home, and that at the end of the day, we fall in the bed, we're exhausted, and we say, dang, this was a really good day. Do we have those? Let's have those. Let's make sure that the choices we make and the things that we do at the end of the day, you go, wow. It's such a good feeling. And whatever it is, whether it's working in the garden or going to work or doing whatever you're doing, it's at the end of the day saying, yes, this was a really good day. That's that experience of home. The little things matter. And I invite you to consider this morning, is there anything keeping you out of this experience of being at home? And again, not in the physical, but in the spiritual and the emotional and the soul level. And what are you ready to leave here this morning? What keeps us from this experience of peace? What keeps us from this experience of home? Do we go along to get along, or do we allow ourselves to speak our truth? This is big, yeah, I know. This is big for me sometimes, and okay. And yet, in life, we have to pick our battles. We have to decide what's important that we need to talk about, what we need to disagree on, and what we can say, choosing not to get involved in that. But it's so important that we allow ourselves to stand in our integrity and speak our truth when we need to. So there are some things in the book that Melanie writes about that there's opportunity for us to remember in this experience of finding our way home. Starting with remembering who our soul wants to be. Our soul wants to be, the truth of our soul is we're whole, complete, and perfect. We are the beloved. You right here, right now, just exactly as you are the beloved. Nothing you need to do, nothing you need to release, nothing you need to change, nothing you need to learn, none of that. Right here, right now, we are the essence, expression, and experience of spirit. But so often we get that covered up with, I'll be that. I'll be the beloved as soon as and you get to fill in the blank. As soon as I get the garage cleaned out. I actually put a few boxes, so my garage, oy vey. And I'm down to, I just have one car, and thank God I only have one car because the rest of it is worldly goods. So, and you might have that experience too. And so, I'll be the essence, expression, and experience of spirit as soon as except that there's no time delay in this. We are already the beloved. So what, and with the opportunity to say, yes, thank you, and more, please. And we'll talk more about that later. What are we doing? What are we doing that we'd really be just as happy not doing? What are we doing? What are we feeling like we have to do that keeps us out of this experience of home? Is there something? Now, admittedly, sometimes I don't want to do that, but I have to do that. I don't like have to, and I really don't like should, but sometimes it is in our and verbalize it however you wish, but it's important that I do that so that I can. So it's the means to the end. So this is what I want, and so I need to do that so that I can, and you get to fill in the blank. And sometimes that's okay, but not always. Sometimes home for us is releasing that does not bring us peace. The old story, the old anger, the old hurt, from 20 or 30 or 50 or 60 or 80 or 90 years ago or earlier this morning? What do we carry with us that doesn't bring us peace? Remembering the line from Course in Miracles, I can see peace instead of this. It's on the road, whatever that is, and I picture the road home with all the stuff that's in the middle of the road that's keeping me, that's blocking me from my trip back to home. What's on that road, and what can I lovingly release and push off to the side to bring me back to that place of perfect peace and of home? Sometimes it's just changing the story. Sometimes it's just changing the story. And then we get a new insight and find that we never really left home, but it felt like it. So remember who your soul wants to be, and remember what your soul wants to do. Do you know what you want to do when you grow up? I don't know. I have a pretty amazing life, and I'm really happy doing what I'm doing now. I don't know that I'm going to want to do this in 10 or 20 years. Well, yeah, probably so. But there potentially could be other things. So how important it is for us to allow ourselves to ask. This is really cool, and I like to do this. Or, that was fun. That was fun. So what's next? What's next for us? Because there's another chapter. As long as we're drawing breath, there's another chapter. Some of you might remember I was with you 2 weeks ago and was talking about going over to Palm Springs, and I did a podcast about dealing with and processing and accepting our experiences of death and of loss and of change. And the number of people, especially when they get to be a certain age, and especially when a spouse makes their transition or a job ends and they believe that, okay, my life is over, I'm just going to go and sit down and sit in the corner and wait to die. And how important it is for us to recognize that if we're still here, no matter what the situation is, if we're still here, we're still here. There's something else to do. There's something else to learn. There's someone else to be loved. I'll come back to that. It's so important because there's so much more to do. There's so much life to be lived. So remember what your soul wants to do, and if we don't know, it's okay to ask. Remember who your soul wants to be, what your soul wants to do, and remember how creative your soul can be. We're just amazingly creative beings. Sometimes consciously, thankfully, we can look back and say, yep, it was my intention to, and that happened, and it was better than I could have imagined. Sometimes we're creating that, and it's just so not what I had in mind. But the good news is, because we're one with the creative process, we can say, that was interesting. I'm going to do that again and manifest something else, create something else. There's always that opportunity and that possibility. Sometimes there's nothing to change. I am already home. Everything already is wonderful. Everything already works. And I'll talk more about this in a few minutes as well, but we sometimes get into that trap that in this teaching, well, don't just sit there. You need to be doing something. You need to be creating something. You need more, bigger, better. And we can also be radically content. We can say, Dang. I've used that twice. That's my limit. Dang. I'll use it one more time and that's it. I have the most amazing life, and how cool is this? And I am so grateful, and all is well. And so now I'm going to do really cool stuff to give back or to give more. But we don't always have to be banging on the drum. We can just relax and be at home. It's okay. Remember to jump into the void. Can we say, my heart of hearts just really wants this, and I have no idea how this is going to happen, but I know some way, and I'm quoting Edwene Gaines here, that I'm going to go out on a limb and allow the universe to grow a tree to support it. Do we allow ourselves to do that? I just really want that, and I don't know how it's going to work, but somehow, some way, it's going to work. So, Urban Street Angels, and most of you know, this is the organization that I work with that provides housing and employment referrals and life skills training to homeless 18 to 25-year-olds. And we are celebrating 10 years this year. Reverend Suzette and I will be representing OHM, and I will be representing Urban Street Angels, obviously, at a big celebration Thursday night. And this started when our executive director was senior minister for Disciples of Christ Church in North Park. And one of their outreach programs was to take sack lunches to homeless people in Ocean Beach. And he gave a sack lunch to this one young man, and the young man said, "Gee, this is really nice, and I appreciate the food, but what I really need is a place to sleep." And so it started as couch surfing. So a couple of youth would couch surfed at his house, and then he took it from being a ministry of that church into its own 501c3 nonprofit organization, which is when I got involved. And so 10 years later, and we've got about 130 youth last night didn't sleep on the street because of this program. No, so how are you going to do this? How are you going to get the funding for this? How is this going to work? Or can we say, I don't know? Can we say it's the sacred I don't know? Can we say, I don't know, but I have the intention for this, and so somehow, some way, the universe is going to support this? And so looking back on 10 years, there's one after another after another. How in the world did that happen? Well, that's how that happens. So how important it is and allow ourselves to feel at home, so feel that security and feel that knowingness as we say, this is my heart's desire, and I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know somehow, some way, the universe is going to support this. And then you look back, you've had that, you look back and say, wow, it's just, your work, you feel like you want to write a song, and then you write a song and you perform it, and everybody says, wow, just like the one you did. Oh my goodness, that was amazing. And you have so many of those. Yes, you have so many of those. It's this creative process. It's the wow when we look back and see how that came to being for us. And then remember how blessed we are. Now, I'm so pleased that we still have Thanksgiving and fall decorations here. I was in my credit union on the way to work the other morning, and they're putting up the Christmas tree. And I'm like, will you guys really? And so I get to work, and they're putting up the Christmas trees. It's okay. It's whatever y'all want to do, that's fine. I in my house, I in my church, thankfully, will wait to do that until ideally Thanksgiving, or at least as we get closer to Thanksgiving. But in November, we try to focus on and invite ourselves to focus on the experience of gratitude. we just have preposterously amazing lives in San Diego. If nothing else, did you have to shovel the walk this morning? If you've ever lived in the Northeast or the Midwest, and it's so funny because dear friends of ours came out to visit a couple of years after we moved back from Boston, and the one said, because I live in a condo complex, and so there's steps up from the parking lot, and she said, well, who shovels the walk? And so I looked at her and smiled and counted to 5, and she said, oh my goodness, nobody shovels the walk. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. So, yes, there's not much of a change of seasons. And yes, the prices of things are a little high. And yes, rents are a little high. But do we stay stuck in that observation, or can we recognize this most amazing place where we live and the benefits of being here? It's pretty ridiculous. Sometimes we feel like we need to go do something or get something so that we can come home versus recognizing we're already there. Now, you may not know this, and I didn't know this, but we learn everything we need to learn from the internet. On November 3rd, 1956, so that would have been 66 years ago, The Wizard of Oz was shown on TV for the first time. So it's been so the movie had been out for a while, but the first time it was shown on television was in 1956. And you remember the story that the Scarecrow really wanted a brain, except he was amazingly wise. The Tin Man wanted a heart, except that he was incredibly compassionate and loving. The lion wanted courage, except he already had courage. And Dorothy wanted to go home. And, I was going to look this up too. And it was either Glenda, the Good Witch of the North, or the wizard that said, you've been able to do this the whole time. So how often do we feel like we got to go find something to make our lives better so that we'll be okay, or so that we'll be acceptable, when in reality, I had it all the time. I had it all the time. And when we see that, we can offer that gratitude for this most amazing experience. And if we don't have it, there's always the opportunity to ask, seek, and knock. Remember in Matthew, Jesus said, paraphrasing, keep banging on the door, because the answer is there and it'll come to you. So what do I need to change? What do I need to release to receive whatever that is? Prosperous. And she talks, and I love this quote from the book. That I did not. Wait a minute. Oh, there we go. Don't limit the abundance and the wonderful gifts in this world. Prosperity isn't just money. It's the state of an open heart. The gifts are all around us. Sometimes money is just what we need. Sometimes what we need is a friend or an evening at the beach taking in the setting sun. Sometimes we need direction, or we have an emotion we need to heal. Receiving the healing energy around us is receiving prosperity too. Be clear about what you want and need. So sometimes it's the FOMO, the fear of missing out. So I want to be involved in that. I want to be doing whatever y'all are doing. So that's the FOMO, and the fear of missing out. And sometimes it's the JOMO. It's the joy of missing out. Thank you so much for thinking of me. I'm going to stay home, and y'all go and do whatever y'all are going to do, because I'm really happy at home. So as divine timing would have it, and it's the goofiest thing, English cream golden retrievers, they aren't they aren't real unique, but there aren't that many of them out there. But right across the driving aisle from where Maggie and I live, and so I'm in Unit 78, in Unit 80, there is Diego. And Diego is a male 3-year-old English cream golden retriever. So, oh my God, he's so cute. Has paws like this size. And Maggie's about 70 pounds and Diego's about 105 pounds. But his humans are so wonderful, and we see one another when we're out on a walk, and that's how it is in my condo, and probably if you live in a condo or an apartment and have a dog, the only way you know people is because you meet them when they're out walking the dog. But so last night they had a Friendsgiving gathering, and about a dozen of us went to Diego's house and hung out and just had the greatest time. And it was so much fun and so wonderful. And of course, Maggie has been asleep ever since she got home last night because she had so much fun. She's completely wiped out. But it was just so much fun. And so during this holiday season, may we decide what's listed as, yes, I want to be involved in that, and that sounds like great fun, and that'll be an experience of home. And then decide, thank you so much, I so appreciate it, but I'm going to pass. Because it's okay to say yes, and it's okay to say no. Whatever brings us that experience of joy and of peace and of fun and of home, we get to decide. And then finally, remember how powerful our soul can be. I really want to do that. I really don't want to do that. And the universe says, great, I'll support you in that. And then we listen to the still small voice and we act on those ideas that come to us. But what if we're already home? What if everything is wonderful? We have everything we need. We have wonderful relationships. We're good on the money. Our health is okay. And we're just hanging out and we're missing out in joy because we didn't want to do that and we're just doing what we want to. Is it okay to be radically content? And the short answer is yes. And so you might remember several weeks ago I talked about this and the fact that sometimes we run ourselves ragged because, no, I should be doing that, when in the reality, no, what you should be doing is sitting home watching Golden Girls or whatever the case might be. But a quote from one of my very most favorite books that I will close with, and it has to do with being radically content as an unbecoming, a shedding, a healing, a whole making, recognizing that we're already home. And this is Jamie Varon, and she writes, being radically content is a way for happiness, satisfaction, and contentment to include more of us. It's an invitation into the most inclusive spot where we all belong, where we are all worthy, where nobody has to try to do or be anything more than who we are. Where you don't have to be the best or build an empire or win awards or do anything you don't truly desire to do just to prove how good you are at keeping up. So in this moment, we're already the beloved. In this moment, we're already whole, complete, and perfect. In this moment, we're already home. And so the opportunity is, if I'm not feeling at home in this situation, what may I change about my beliefs about it, about my story about it, to experience that home, that peace, that... Doesn't the physical body feel really good after we take a deep breath like that? That's the experience of home. So with that in mind, join me in the light for just a minute. And in the peace and the quiet of this moment, we offer great gratitude for this time together being home. Being at home, being home in this knowledge that we are already the beloved, that we are already the essence, expression, and experience of Spirit. And so as we move forward this afternoon and through this week, we allow ourselves to question, does this bring me peace? Does this thought, this belief, this story, this experience, or am I ready to change it so that I can be at peace and be at home? We give great thanks for this experience of home, for being together today, whether in person or on the internet. We give thanks for our home, our physical home, and the wonderful place that we reside, and offer gratitude for all that we have. We give thanks. We give great thanks. So for our time together, for this beloved spiritual community and everything we've talked about today, we give great thanks. And together we say, and so it is.